All right, everyone, we're going to pick up where we left off talking about social determinants. Just a quick recap. We talked about how we're going to have more attention at the federal state level, particularly around sustainability focus, and how we use data to really drive this collaborative model that we're anticipating that we're going to see. As we move from that into talking about healthcare reform, a couple points to note here. Of those states that have expanded Medicaid, what we're anticipating that we're going to see is some cuts to reimbursement, which is going to translate into, unfortunately, a rise in our uninsured patients. So we may see cuts financially in reimbursement, or we may see a reduction in our reimbursable services, so those things that Medicaid will cover. Now, as part of the American Health Care Act, there have been caps placed on Medicaid. So states are going to have to start making some very difficult decisions on whether they are going to increase the state spending or reduce the state spending on Medicaid, because the federal funding now is at a limit. We can't. The federal government won't give up the states over a certain limit. So states are either going to be left to cut services and cut reimbursement, or increase their spending, which that may translate into higher taxes depending on what state you're in, or again, we might see that reduction in services. So what does that look like for us that are out in the workforce? If we receive, or we make too much rather, to receive that credit to help supplement us going out on the marketplace and buying insurance, we could be looking at some increased premiums over the long run. So you can see the graph here. We have the dark blue line are businesses or corporations that have 3 to 49 workers. This kind of middle blue line has 50 to 99 workers, and then the light blue line 100 or more workers, and then the orange line is the average overall. So we see percentage of firms offering healthcare benefits. We see the bigger companies starting to stabilize, but these littler companies are starting to fall off, and overall the industry trend is kind of slowly on a downturn. So again, what does that mean for us? Particularly if you do end up working for a smaller firm, 3 to 49 workers, we see here only about 50% were offering benefits in 2017. We could see some increased premiums as we go out to the marketplace and start to look for insurance. Now take a look what's happened to premiums over, since 1999 until 2017. We see the dark blue line, that single coverage, light blue line, family coverage. In 2017, we had premiums for a family coverage at about almost $19,000. So the point to make here is, what do you really start to notice as we start to offer less benefits overall for our smaller companies? Remember what we saw in the previous graph, smaller companies starting to offer less and less benefits. Many people are just willing to take that penalty than pay that higher premium. So a lot of people can't or don't feel it necessary to afford this $18,000 premium for their family, or if you're single, almost $7,000 premium for single coverage. We would rather take the penalty than pay that higher premium until we start seeing an uptick in the economy to where businesses can start offering more benefits. Another big focus we're going to be looking at, and we'll be talking about through the semester, and we'll actually have a guest speaker to give us a little bit more insight into this, is our patient experience piece. That's one piece that's really at the forefront of the healthcare industry right now. We can see, 80% of our third-party insurers are really working to do a lot of research and development in different types of technology. We've got Humana, for instance, that has software algorithms that predict their members' fall risk rate, and they design interventions specifically around individual patients. So now we're getting more individualized care and more individualized treatment plans. And we have about half of executives across the nation are really working to make patient experience one of their top priorities over the next 5 years. So something that used to not be on anybody's radar is now inching up there in the top 3 priorities over the next 5 years. Now, why is this? And why do we have such a focus on our patients and patient experience. As we talked about in class, as we move towards that value-based purchasing model, about 30% of that reimbursement that we're going to see, that we're hoping to get back, comes from our patient experience and our patient satisfaction scores. So money really is talking here when we tie our patient's experience to our reimbursement and how much we are getting back as a facility. So what does this patient experience really mean for us? We'll put it into three different buckets here. And our implications are going to be that our patient interactions are essential to our continuing functioning as a healthcare organization and as a facility. We really need to start working to understand what a patient goes through when they go through our system. It may make sense to us as administrators and as team members because we work in it every day, but for a patient it can probably be one of the most confusing processes they will ever go through. And we also need, like we talked about in health administration, we need to learn how to do service recovery and get really good at service recovery. How do we bring those patients that we know are completely dissatisfied back into our facilities to give us a second chance? That second bucket that we need to consider is our technology investment. So we need to really make sure that our staff and our employees are trained on the newest tools that are going to be the most beneficial to our patients and how to really integrate them into the care of the patient. Now, not only are we worried about the tools and how to integrate them, but what are we going to do with all the data? The data needs to do the talking and kind of lead us, as we saw in strategic planning. The data really needs to help us make decisions for the future of our organization. We don't want to get caught in analysis paralysis, but we want to let the data do the talking for us and help us make those more informed decision makings. And we really want to work to create an experience for our patients. So tying back up to our patient interactions and how they're going to be essential to our hospital functions, we want to make the process fit the patient, not the patient fit the process. So how do we work in quality improvement, which is becoming very big in the healthcare field right now? How do we use quality improvement, Lean, Six Sigma, all of this to our benefit to make that patient experience better and to keep those patients coming back to our hospital and bring those dissatisfied patients back to give us another try? The third bucket that we'll discuss here is our workforce and our patient experience. So not only do we want to have this great focus on patient experience, which is wonderful, we want to make sure that our patients are taken care of and that they're getting the best treatment, the best experience every time they enter and exit our facility. But we don't need to lose sight of our workforce. We need to learn how to balance improving that experience with keeping our employees satisfied, because satisfied employees are going to give great care to our patients. And this is one thing we're going to talk about through workforce burnout in our turnover lecture. So just a couple key points to sum up what we talked about in class and through this video. You guys have heard this ad nauseum through all of your other classes, but healthcare, we're entering a time that unlike we've ever seen before. It's getting really hard to anticipate what's going to happen because our environment is just changing so rapidly with new advancements in technology, new ways to treat patients, particularly with patients who are living longer. We have to learn how to deal with their more chronic conditions. And we talked about earlier in the class the role pharmaceuticals are playing, but overall, how do we take that cost that's associated, particularly around pharmaceuticals and healthcare in general, how do we drive that cost down for our patients? So that's kind of a quick and easy summing up of our top 12 issues that we're looking at. We'll see you all back in class.